Chapter 1, The Calm Before the Storm. The town of P. Hill was a quiet, picturesque place. Jennifer Johnson was one of its stars, a beautiful and well-respected woman known for her charm, charisma, and dedication to her family. Married to Mark Johnson, a jovial man with a witty sense of humor, the two seemed like the embodiment of marital bliss. Next door lived Daniel and Linda Kerr, a couple whose relationship appeared to mirror the Johnsons'. Daniel, a successful architect, was known for his meticulous work and dashing good looks. His wife, Linda, was a kind-hearted schoolteacher, loved by her students and admired by her peers for her gentle demeanor. The two families became inseparable. Weekends were spent hosting barbecues, traveling, and sharing stories. From the outside, their lives seemed perfect. But as the saying goes, not all that glitters is gold. Chapter 2, The Game Begins. It started innocently enough, over drinks one warm summer evening. The conversation shifted from the mundane topics of work and family to more personal and daring subjects. The concept of wife-swapping emerged, first as a joke, then as something more. Fueled by curiosity and the sense of adventure that came from breaking societal norms, they entertained the idea. At first, it was exhilarating, a game of thrill and secrecy. The boundaries were clear, no emotions, just physical encounters. Mark and Linda would pair off, while Daniel and Jennifer would do the same. It was an arrangement designed to keep everything under control, or so they thought. However, it wasn't long before Daniel began to develop deeper feelings for Jennifer. What had started as a game quickly became something far more dangerous. The line between fantasy and reality blurred, and Daniel's obsession grew. Chapter 3, Daniel's Descent. Daniel found himself captivated by Jennifer's beauty and the allure of what he could not have. She was different from Linda, wild, confident, and carefree. His infatuation began to consume him. He craved her attention, longing for the moments they shared, even outside the confines of their agreement. His behavior changed. Daniel began finding excuses to be near Jennifer. He offered to help her with household tasks, sent her thoughtful gifts, and arranged frequent dinner parties, just to steal glances at her. His subtle actions soon turned into a more aggressive pursuit. He would show up unannounced at her work, find reasons to visit her home when Mark wasn't around, and constantly sought ways to be alone with her. Jennifer, though flattered initially, quickly grew uneasy. What had started as a game was spiraling out of control, and Daniel's feelings were becoming dangerous. She confided in Mark, but he brushed it off as harmless flirting, not realizing the depth of Daniel's obsession. Chapter 4, Linda's realization. Linda had always been a patient and understanding wife. She loved Daniel deeply, but she wasn't blind to the changes in him. He had become distant, often lost in thought, and increasingly irritable. She knew that his fascination with Jennifer had gone beyond the boundaries of their agreement. Still, Linda chose to suffer in silence, hoping that it was just a phase that would pass. As weeks turned into months, Linda's hopes dwindled. She could no longer ignore the obvious. Daniel was in love with Jennifer. The realization hit her hard, but even then, she chose to protect her marriage rather than confront it. She convinced herself that Daniel would come back to her, that their relationship would survive this turbulent time, but deep down, Linda knew that the damage had already been done. Chapter 5, The Breaking Point. Jennifer could no longer handle the pressure of Daniel's advances. She decided to end their affair once and for all. She met Daniel at a secluded park, hoping to explain that their relationship could not continue. But Daniel refused to accept her decision. His feelings had grown too strong, and he couldn't bear the thought of losing her. The conversation grew heated as Jennifer insisted that their encounters were over. Daniel, in a moment of desperation, professed his love for her, begging her to leave Mark and start a new life with him. Jennifer was horrified. What had started as a thrilling adventure was now a nightmare. She walked away, leaving Daniel standing alone, devastated and enraged. Chapter 6, Linda's Confrontation. Meanwhile, Linda's suspicions grew. One evening, after a dinner party, she confronted Daniel. Her voice trembling with emotion, she asked him about his feelings for Jennifer. Instead of denying it, Daniel lashed out, accusing Linda of jealousy and insecurity. He couldn't see the pain in her eyes or the fear in her heart, he was too consumed by his obsession. Linda's world began to crumble. She realized that their marriage was a facade, held together by pretense and lies. Daniel no longer loved her, and she didn't know how to fix it. But despite the heartache, she remained determined to save her marriage, even if it meant confronting Jennifer herself. Chapter 7. The final encounter. Jennifer thought she had put an end to the affair, but Daniel's obsession only deepened. He began stalking her, showing up at her work, and even lurking outside her home. Jennifer grew terrified, confiding in her closest friends about Daniel's increasingly erratic behavior. She knew that something had to be done, but she was unsure of how to handle the situation without causing further harm. One evening, as Jennifer returned home from work, she found Daniel waiting for her outside her house. His eyes were wild, filled with desperation and madness. Jennifer tried to remain calm, asking him to leave, but Daniel wouldn't budge. He grabbed her arm, pleading with her to reconsider, to give him another chance. Jennifer's heart raced with fear. She yelled for him to let go, and as neighbors began to emerge from their homes, Daniel fled into the night, leaving Jennifer shaken and terrified. Chapter 8. The unraveling. Daniel's behavior spiraled out of control. He stopped going to work, withdrew from friends, and spent his days brooding over Jennifer. Linda, watching helplessly from the sidelines, felt powerless. She knew that Daniel was heading towards self-destruction, but she didn't know how to stop it. Jennifer, too, was struggling. She couldn't sleep, couldn't focus at work, and couldn't shake the feeling that Daniel was always watching her. She decided to tell Linda the truth, that Daniel's obsession had gone too far and that something needed to be done before it was too late. Chapter 9. A tragic decision. Linda met Jennifer at a local cafe. As Jennifer recounted the details of Daniel's behavior, Linda's heart broke. She had always known that Daniel's love for Jennifer was more than just a fleeting infatuation, but hearing the truth was unbearable. She promised Jennifer that she would speak to Daniel and convince him to seek help. That evening, Linda confronted Daniel one final time. She begged him to let go of his obsession, to save their marriage before it was too late. But Daniel, consumed by his own delusions, refused to listen. He accused Linda of trying to control him, of standing in the way of his true happiness. Linda realized that she couldn't save him. Chapter 10. The fatal encounter. In a final, desperate act, Daniel decided to confront Jennifer one last time. He arrived at her house, unannounced, in the dead of night. Jennifer, startled by the sound of knocking, cautiously opened the door. The sight of Daniel standing there, unhinged and frantic, sent a chill down her spine. That he pushed his way inside, his eyes filled with a mix of longing and madness. Jennifer tried to reason with him, but Daniel was beyond reason. He believed that Jennifer had led him on, that she had played with his heart, and now he was determined to make her pay. As Jennifer backed away, pleading for him to leave, Daniel snapped. In a fit of rage, he attacked her, unable to control the whirlwind of emotions that had been building inside him for months. Chapter 11. The aftermath. The quiet town of P. Hill was rocked by the news of Jennifer Johnson's death. Daniel was arrested, but the damage had already been done. Two families, once close as siblings, were now torn apart by tragedy. Mark, devastated by the loss of his wife, couldn't comprehend how their lives had unraveled so quickly. Linda, too, was left to pick up the pieces of a broken life. She had lost not only her husband but also her closest friend. The town whispered about the scandal for months, but no one could truly understand the depths of pain and betrayal that had led to such a tragic end. Epilogue. The cost of desire. In the end, the game they had played wasn't just about exchanging partners, it was about the darker desires that lurked within each of them. What began as a thrilling escape from their mundane lives turned into a nightmare of obsession, jealousy, and heartbreak. As the years passed, the town of P. Hill slowly returned to its peaceful ways. But the shadow of that fateful summer night would forever hang over the lives of those involved, a grim reminder of the danger of playing with fire.